The night changed after the passionate moment we shared. Our lips molded together as we buried ourselves in lustful kisses. He touched me in ways I'd never been touched before, with his lips and hands. Daniel promised me a passionate night, and he delivered. In his words, he didn't use my body for his needs, and that was true. Daniel allowed me to take control. He asked me what I wanted, and he gave it to me. He asked for my permission before he made another move. It was the first time I had an experience like that, and I would never forget it. Time flowed smoothly, and the party died down as the morning approached. I've yet to see Alexis. Maevis was asleep on the couch. Ever since his friends arrived, Daniel held me by his side. He received snide remarks from the others, but he paid no attention to them. They continued with their drinking when I thought to check my watch. It was already 2:45. I needed to get home. I had responsibilities, and here I was, still partying. Tapping on Daniel's shoulder, he turned to me and I said, "It's nearly 3 in the morning. As much as I want to stay, I need to go home. I still have my part-time job tomorrow." "Still ruining the fun, aren't you?" Casper entered the conversation as he sat beside Daniel. After rolling his eyes, Daniel pulled me closer to him. One of Daniel's lady friends chimed in. "Don't be too hard on her, Casper. This seems to be her first time having fun in her entire life." Her remark caused laughter within the group, except for Daniel. "Her friends are fun, I have to say," one of the guys added. "Especially that Alexis girl. She partied all the way." "Where is she, by the way?" the lady asked. That guy answered after a shot. "Think she's with Andrew. You know, off doing something else." He again laughed with the rest. I leaned towards Daniel and repeated in a whisper, "I'm sorry for ruining the fun, but I really need to go." "Come on, Gloria, you've been here for hours. Still afraid of Daddy's rules?" Casper mocked me as he poured whiskey into an empty shot glass. "Here," he offered, bumping onto Daniel's shoulder. "Have a drink." Daniel turned his head to him. "She's not drinking that." Casper's eyes widened and his brows furrowed. The rest of the group went silent and turned to our direction. They glanced over at each other, anticipating what would happen next. Casper scoffed and said, "Since when did you become a party pooper? Didn't you say we're here to party?" Once again, he moved the shot glass closer to me. Daniel gripped Casper's wrist. He leaned towards him and growled lowly, "If you're going to be an ass, make sure that it doesn't piss me off. If you want to drink until your body explodes, by all means, do it. But she's not drinking that thing." Casper's eyes widened in horror, his mouth agape. I held onto Daniel's shoulder in an attempt to calm him down. Painfully, it was enough to make him let go of Casper's wrist. Casper couldn't look at his friends. He avoided their questioning stares and glared at me even more. Humiliated, he shrugged and said, "Fine then, more for me." He chugged down the whiskey and turned his attention to the girl beside him. Daniel looked back at me. He took my hand and we left the table. We entered the kitchen, and it was empty. The stoves were off. No one was cooking. No one was cleaning. The dishes and glasses were tucked away, and the room smelled like chlorine. Daniel walked further into the kitchen. He didn't say anything, nor did he turn around to look at me. He squeezed my hand every now and then, but our walk through the kitchen was silent. We reached the door leading outside. We stepped into a dark alley. The streets were silent. and there were no vehicles passing by. At this point, I might need to grab an Uber, or worse, walk home. "Have a safe trip home," said Daniel before turning around. He proceeded to step back inside without saying anything else. I scoffed. I couldn't believe Daniel acted this way, all because I wanted to go home. I thought he was better than this. "So that's it?" My words made Daniel stop. His hand paused on the doorknob. "You're going to treat me as if nothing happened between us tonight? Am I just like all the other girls you've used?" My nose fumed as my hands landed on my waist. "And all this time, I thought you were better than your friends." I then turned around and walked. The sound of my heels echoed throughout the alley. Footsteps ran after me. The next thing I knew, I was pinned on the wall. "Let go of me," I said, trying to push Daniel away. "I said let go!" "Shh, shh," Daniel said, as gently as he could, trying to calm me down. His warm yet soft touch made me hold my breath for a moment. Looking upon his expression, I stopped fidgeting and grew confused. Daniel kept his eyes closed, his brows knitted together as if he was in pain. For a moment, we stayed in this position. No one said a word. Our breaths warmed our faces in the midst of a cold night. Daniel pressed his forehead on mine. In a whisper, he spoke. "As much as I don't want to let you go, I know I can't keep you here." His words confused me even more. Daniel moved away, and we looked at each other. He held my face in his hands, and I held onto his wrist. Daniel continued, "I may never see you again after this night, but I want you to know that you're not like the other women I've met. I never treated you like you're disposable. You may not believe me, but I am in love with you. I'd keep you with me if I could." After a sigh, he added, "But I know you don't belong in my arms. You deserve more than a brief encounter in a club." My brows furrowed as I removed his hands. "What? I don't understand. Why are you talking like this?" Daniel sighed as he cupped my face. "Never forget me. Never forget my face." He caressed my face with his thumb. "One day, I will come back for you." Before I could reply, he kissed my forehead, my nose. Not wasting time, our lips touched. He held on to me as if his life depended on it. I kissed him back, not wanting to let him go. Daniel broke away from me and returned to the club. And just like that, I was alone. I groaned as I waited for my manager in her office the next day. The cafe staff have a pre-opening meeting when I fainted because of my headache. I was in a rush to get to work. I forgot to take my medication. Finally, she arrived and gave me a glass of orange juice. "Had an awesome night, I suppose?" She giggled as she sat across me. "Yeah, I guess," I nodded. "You could have told me you needed the day off. I would have approved it," she said, concerned. "Where did you have your night out yesterday? You look like you had too many to drink." "Oh, the new club across the street. I don't know the name, but it's 3 buildings away." The room was silent. I looked up and she stared at me, brows knitted together. "No need to worry, ma'am. I can work today," I said. "No, you can't," he said. "You're clearly in pain and it's already causing you confusion." She grabbed her logbook and continued, "I am going to use one of your sick leaves for this. Today, I want you to go home and rest." My brows furrowed as she insisted. She had never been this strict with sending someone home over a headache. "You may go. I'll see you next week," she continued, looking at me before writing in her logbook. Confused, I accepted her decision and headed to the door. "One more thing, Aria." I turned around as she spoke. She looked at me and said, "There's no new club in that area, only an abandoned building."